Hi. So February's reading theme was romance. Because Valentine's Day is in February. And I'm cliche and basic. So we're going to talk about the books that I read in the order that I read them. The first book that I read was The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This could have been 5 stars. This very easily could have been 5 stars, but oh my goodness. I'm going to tell you what it's about first. So this story takes place in England, and it's about a woman named Tiffy who has broken up with her boyfriend and is still living in his apartment, and she desperately needs to get out to get her own place that she can't afford. And she ends up doing a flat share with someone. So she finds an apartment to share with somebody who works complete opposite shifts as her. And they both work Monday to Friday, and he's going to be spending the weekends at his girlfriend's. So she has the apartment in the evening, Monday to Friday, and all weekend. And he has the apartment Monday to Friday during the day. So they share everything, including the bed. They end up communicating to each other by writing notes to each other. They put post-it notes all over the apartment. They share food that they make with each other. It's very cute. And then obviously things progress from there. It's more than just the story of these two people sharing an apartment together and getting to know each other through post-it notes. Tiffy works as an editor at a publishing company that publishes like DIY and craft books, which is kind of fun. And Leon, the guy she shares the apartment with, is a hospice nurse, and also his brother is in prison for something he's been wrongly accused for. So there's some really good story going on around Leon's brother, Tiffy's work. There's stuff with Tiffy's ex-boyfriend. It's got a really interesting story besides just the flat share going on, which I really liked. It has alternating POV chapters. So one chapter is in the first person told by Tiffy, the next chapter is in the first person told by Leon, and it goes back and forth. And the thing that made me give it 4 stars instead of 5 stars was Leon's narration. He left out very small but very important words to make sentences make sense and sound not stupid. He left out like I and you and the and to, and it was very frustrating. And sometimes it made me read the first half of a sentence incorrectly, and then I would get to the second half of the sentence and be confused, and then realize because of the way it was written, I wasn't putting emphasis on the correct words, and I wasn't giving it the meaning it was supposed to, and then I'd have to reread it. It was very frustrating. He also was not consistent in which words he left out of which sentences. It was so weird. There was no explanation to it. I don't understand. There was also one scene that I thought was really sweet, except that he was the one narrating, and so it sounded stupid. It took me out of the story so many times. I could not stand the way Leon narrated. I hated it so much. And if he narrated like a normal person, this book would have been 5 stars easy. It was so cute. And Leon, besides the way he narrated, was amazing. I loved him so much. I just wish he narrated with proper grammar. I think there's sex in this. Now I can't remember. I think there's a little bit of detailed tame sex, I'm pretty sure. I already forget, but I'm pretty sure all the adult romance books that I read this month had some kind of detailed sex scene, in case that's something that you like to know ahead of time, whether because you like it or you don't, whatever. This was adorable. I just hated the way Leon narrated, but I loved him as a person. The next book that I read was Xoxo by Axio. I gave this 5 stars. It was adorable. I feel like this accomplished absolutely everything that it set out to accomplish. It completely 100% met its goals, I think. It was fantastic. It just gave me all the warm and fuzzies. I felt so cozy reading it. It was so adorable and lovely and wonderful. Oh my god, squeal worthy. It was so cute. This book is about a Korean girl who grew up in New York, and her uncle owns a karaoke bar. And while she is working at her uncle's karaoke bar, she comes across a very cute Korean boy in one of the private karaoke rooms. They end up having a karaoke off and then running into each other again a little bit later that night, and they have a very fun night at a festival together. They take pictures in one of those old school photo booths. but then he has to leave very abruptly and go back to South Korea. They text a little bit, and then he just all of a sudden stops texting her. Really weird. She's kind of upset about it, but, such is life. But then a few months later, she actually gets the opportunity to go to an arts-specific boarding school in South Korea, because her mother needs to go to South Korea to take care of her grandmother, who has cancer, and so Jenny takes the opportunity to go with her and to transfer schools for her last year of high school. And so she goes to this arts school for the cello. She's very competitive in that. And when she gets to the school, she realized just how competitive this school is, and people go to the school to try and become famous and everything in their fields. And the guy that she ran into in New York, who suddenly had to go back to South Korea and then stop talking to her, she finds out not only goes to this school that she's transferred to, but is also a singer in a new, very famous K-pop band called Xoxo. And it's adorable. She becomes friends with all of the people in the band, and she becomes friends with other people who aren't in the band. There's a little bit of drama with her roommate and other friends, stuff that she's dealing with her mother and her grandmother, and obviously with this boy who she had a wonderful night with in New York, and now is going to the same school as him, except that he's famous. It was so cute. It was so cute. I can't. It was adorable. 5 stars. Just, blah. Also just a very quick read. It's just so easy breezy. Like, if you just want a cutesy, fluffy, adorable, warm little romance, pick this up, read it in a flash, enjoy yourself. Then I read Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I did not like this book. I'm sorry. I gave this 2 stars. Now, here's the thing, though. Well, I'll tell you what it's about, and then I'll get into the thing. Okay, so Anna and the French Kiss is about a girl named Anna who goes to Paris for her last year of high school at an American English-speaking boarding school in Paris. And she's very angry about having to go to Paris for a year, where she doesn't even really have to learn a lot of French, because everybody in her school speaks English. And then she gets a crush on a boy with a girlfriend. That's what it's about. I did really enjoy the writing style and the voice of the writing. Like, when I say voice, I don't mean the actual main character, just like the way the main character used her words. I thought the voice was very fun. It was very cute. It was funny. It was very, quirky, easy to kind of get into and read quickly, for sure. Definitely enjoyed the writing and the storytelling. I just did not like the story or the main character. I hated Anna with a passion. She's just very self-absorbed, judgy, ignorant, selfish. She's just, and she doesn't even grow. She's this way the whole time. And I think she was supposed to grow. I think there were some things that happened that were supposed to let us know that she has become a better person, but no. It's no. I also didn't like that the romance was revolving around somebody who had a girlfriend, because also the romance was kind of reciprocated a lot of the times when he still had a girlfriend. And I didn't really like that. It's not that cute. The whole storyline, of the reason there was this crush and everything surrounding the crush, I wasn't a fan of. But I mostly just absolutely hated Anna so much, and I don't understand why this boy liked her. All of my tabs are of her being judgy, being cringy, being ignorant. There's a couple tabs that I thought were actually funny. I think the green ones are things that I actually thought were funny, but everything else was just cringe factor tabs. There was also a few things that happened in it that I just thought were weird, and weird that people in the editing process also didn't find weird and didn't say maybe this should be different. Like the fact that this school for high school students who are children do not have access to the cafeteria during the weekends except for brunch. How else do you expect these students to get their food? They're high school students and they don't have jobs. What? And then there was other just weird things, they had to go through security in the airport in order to get to arrivals, which was weird. And then I was like, well, maybe she means customs. But no, they went through customs in Paris, so it doesn't, there was like a lot of really weird things like that. I'm not going to go into all of them, but I mean, if someone likes negative book reviews and they want me to go into the weird stuff that I tabbed, then I can. I'm not a huge fan of doing negative book reviews because, like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But yeah, wasn't a fan of this one. But because I liked the writing style, I would read something else by this author in the future, just probably not from this trilogy. Okay, the next book that I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry. And this book really caught me off guard because there's a lot to this story that is not mentioned in the blurb on the back that I think should be. Like, I'm going to read the back, okay? Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens A Happily Ever After, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months, they're living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. Then one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of a backwoods death cult, obviously. Everyone will finish a book, and no one will fall in love. Really. So, for one, they don't go to the beach. This cover and title is very misleading. Like, yeah, okay, they live in beach houses, but they never go down to the beach. Like, January goes to the beach once by herself and gets pooed on by a bird, and then Augustus shows up after she's been pooed on. That's it. Also, January is living in this beach house because her dad just died, and at his funeral she found out that he had a mistress the whole time, basically, that he was married to her mom, and they had a beach house together, and so she is getting ready to sell it. So her dad just died at the beginning of the story, and she found out that he's been cheating on her mom, and now she has to go to this beach house that's filled with terrible thoughts because her dad and his mistress lived there together, and has to, like, there's a lot of, like, deeper stuff that's the story, and also the death cult thing that that Augustus is doing, that January's going along with him for, is like, they actually interview people who escaped from this cult, and they go to the now burned down cult where people were burned to death. Like, there's a lot of like kind of darker stuff in this. Like, it's not like, this was not a cutesy romance to me. There was some cute romance in it, but to me this was not a rom-com. It was just, I don't know, a story that did happen to have a romance in it. Also, I feel like their books that they wrote were huge cop-outs. I don't know, the romance was cute. I enjoyed the romance, but this is not at all what I was expecting. And it took me a little bit to get into it because of that, I think. I think that's the reason it took me a while to kind of get into it. And then it took me longer to read because it wasn't one of these quick, fast, super fluffy, adorable, cute, warm and fuzzy romances that I was expecting. But I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was still really good. I just feel like the cover and the title and the synopsis are all very misleading. And the last book that I read was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book was very cute. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is about a woman who is a PhD student, and she's trying to convince her best friend that she is not into a guy that she dated a couple times that now her best friend wants to date. She's trying to convince her it's totally fine. She's not into him at all. She wants them to be together, but her best friend is caring about her too much and doesn't want to get into this relationship to hurt her. So she tells her that she's dating a new guy. She swears. And she sees someone in the hall and just kisses him to try and be like, this is the guy I'm dating. So the guy that she kisses is a young professor at her university that everybody hates. He's kind of a dick, and he goes along. He decides to go along with this fake dating thing. He has reasons of his own to go along with it, and they decide together to pretend to date until both of their reasons for doing it are not needed anymore. And then obviously they start liking each other for real throughout it, right? Another big part of the story is that she's doing research on pancreatic cancer. She's trying to find ways to detect it a lot earlier because her mother died of pancreatic cancer when she was in high school. And so there's a little bit of talk about that as well. There's a little bit of like sexual harassment and stuff as well. And there is a very, very long detailed sex scene. It's like 25 pages. So if that's something that you're not into, don't read it or prepare yourself for it. And if it's something you're into, hooray, there's a 25-page sex scene. The things that I didn't like about this were, okay, one, the main character is Canadian and didn't need to be. I feel like she was literally Canadian just so that she could try and make people think that it snows all the time and people eat moose hearts. What? She didn't... You could have just made her American and left that out. You didn't need to do that. There were a few things that I did appreciate in this story, like advocacy for sun safety and for flu shots. And they also said that the flu shots don't just benefit you, they also benefit elderly people you'll be in close proximity to. So I enjoyed that, and it made up a little bit for the stupid Canadian things. And I also appreciated that the main character in this is demisexual, which is fun. Asexual, demisexual spectrums are very different for everybody. I was very excited to read about someone who was like me. She's not like me, though. She, in a way she is, but it wasn't what I was hoping for. But obviously that's not anything against the book, because everybody is different. I just was like super excited at first and thought she was going to be just like me, and she wasn't, but that's okay. I do like that they did talk a little bit about it, though. So that was also another thing that I did enjoy, that wasn't like a huge aspect of the story, but something that was brought up a couple times. But it was a cute romance, and it was pretty warm and fuzzy. The first half was really funny. I've got like all these, the blue tabs are funny, but then the second half wasn't as funny. The second half got a bit more serious, but it was cute, and I enjoyed it. And I do have a Kickstarter going on for my latest book called Neighbourly. It's a cutesy rom-com. There's a link in the description so that if you want to check out the Kickstarter, you can. You can just buy a bookmark for $5, or you can get a signed book and a bookmark and a PDF of the book for $30. You can just do a donation without a reward, and you can donate $1 if you want, or you can share it with your friends. It's just to raise some necessary funds to get it published properly, like so that I can pay the cover artist and pay some people to proofread it for typos and stuff like that. So it's not a lot of money that I'm looking for, and we're currently at about halfway towards my goal. So if you want to check that out, I'd really appreciate it. But obviously no pressure, you don't have to. So I guess that's all. Bye, have a good day.